How to fix environmental, others permission errors. Imagine trying to run a program or access a file and suddenly hitting a wall with a permission error. It can be frustrating, especially when you don't know where to look. Today, we're going to break down how to fix one common type of permission issue called environmental, others permission errors. These happen when the system or software doesn't have the right access for users who are not the owner or part of the group. Think of it like trying to open a door that you don't have the key for. These errors usually come from permissions set too restrictively on files, directories, or system resources. To fix them, you first need to understand how permissions work. Most operating systems divide permissions into 3 parts: owner, group, and others. Each part can have read, write, and execute permissions. The others category applies to everyone else who isn't the owner or in the group. When you see a permission error related to others, it means that the system is blocking access for users outside the owner and group. The next step is to find out which resource is causing the problem. Use commands like list on Unix or Linux systems to see current permissions. On Windows, check the properties and security settings of the file or folder. Once you know what's happening, verify who owns the resource. Sometimes permissions look correct, but ownership is mismatched. If needed, change the owner using commands like change owner on Windows or Chown on Unix Linux. Be careful to assign ownership to the right user or group. Now, check the permissions again. To do this on Unix or Linux, run lsl and look at the permission string. For example, a permission of 644 means the owner can read and write, while others can only read. If the permissions are too restrictive, you can modify them with the change mode command. For example, to give everyone read and execute permissions on a directory, run chmod o plus rx directory name. But always follow the rule of least privilege, only give the permissions needed to do the job. For directories, 755 is common, which means the owner can read, write, and execute, while others can read and execute. If the resource is owned by the wrong user or group, use change owner to fix that. For example, Chown user, group file name will set the correct ownership. Remember, some environments or applications need specific permissions. For example, web servers often requiring files to be owned by or accessible to the web server user, like www data. Adjust permissions accordingly, but avoid giving overly broad access, like making files world-writable. Use diagnostic tools or logs to confirm that your changes work. If you're fixing permissions for a service, sometimes restarting it helps apply the new settings. Also, if your code interacts with files, include error handling to catch permission issues early and provide helpful messages. Be cautious with recursive permission changes. Using chmod r can change permissions on all files and folders inside a directory, but it can also cause unintended issues if used carelessly. Always double-check the paths your scripts or programs are referencing. By following these steps, you can systematically troubleshoot and fix environmental, others permission errors. This will make your software run smoother and keep your system secure. Remember, always verify after making changes that your application or process can access what it needs without exposing your system to unnecessary risks.